Learn a little something. Take a lesson. Learn it all. Welcome back, guys. We are taking on Nameless Thanos, and we are going to try to go itemless Thanos. And so here I am starting with my rank 4 5-star Void, and because most of the first and second section is a lot of a waiting game, I want to be able to do some damage over time with that and see how far I can get. Now, I am on suicide, so my life expectancy is just a little bit lower, especially every time I use a special. That recoil is really killing me, but we do the job. Now, my strategy here is to not use any specials in this first section and save that for the second section so that I can launch specials right away and get right into the attack mode. So here, all I have to do is intercept with a special. Bam, I've turned off those thorns and I can get back into business right away. Now, I'm not going to use my special here because I need to save it for the next time his thorns reactivate. And so here we are, we're going to go ahead and take that special and we're going to intercept with our own special. And basically, we rinse and repeat this until the recoil has killed us. Here I had a little bit of a dex fail. I went to dex and it just didn't work, but whatever, it didn't kill us. We're still in the game, but it really shortened the potential of Void in this fight, so it's a little disappointing, but that's fine. We'll keep on going. Here I went just a hair back too early and got clipped on the end, and therefore that is the end of Void. Time to bring in the next champion. I normally use Archangel in the third section, but because this one is so close to the end, I didn't mind using him here. So basically here we're going to build up our power meter on his block. The only thing is that you have to be careful because the AI is a little bit tricky. Sometimes it'll put a block and then let go right before you get there, so you can start taking some damage from that thorns. So case in point, you can see he backs off and then fakes a block. As soon as I come in, he lets go so I can take the damage, but you have to be cognizant of that just in case and know that you gotta back off if you do get a hit confirmation. So I land the special with Archangel. I'm hoping for some poison, yes, and I get Neuro, which is a great set of RNG here. Now what you want to do here is as soon as this section starts, you want to dash back because that's going to send you in, and make sure that you finish off your combo with a light attack to turn off the reverse controls. So as you can see here, I'm getting some great RNG from the RNG gods. He is doing fantastically and dropping the goods. Now the recovery time on his SP2 seems very sped up from last year's version. It's much harder to punish his SP2 on this one unless you have the right champion. There are champions where it's much easier, they're faster on the dash, and they have a much larger reach. Just Archangel was not one of them. Now I go in with Iceman, I go in immediately, but I kind of messed up here a little bit because I didn't finish off with the last light attack for some reason. I think I just lost count, so I took it in the face for that one. But here we go, we are now in the last section, so intercepts are paramount here. So basically every second you are gaining an armor break, and every time you intercept you are transferring those over. So the main idea here is to transfer over and run an SP3 if you can, but you want to at least get one intercept so that you can turn on your safeguard so you don't die immediately. So I've got 6 armor breaks now, and they're going to build up until I can get an intercept, and as soon as I get one, I am going to land my SP3. So I get an opening here, I hit him real quick, back off, and then get the intercept and throw in that clutch SP3 just to do some damage, because if I get hit by his SP3, I'm toast. I've already got 17% health. Now I am going to build some back through willpower, but 19% won't cut it, and this is done. So I go in with Stark Spidey, it's the same idea here. Now, the thing with Thanos is he has different interactions with different champions. As you can see, my light attack doesn't quite reach too far, and it makes it a little more difficult to intercept him with a light attack. So having a champion with a longer reach is much better for this particular part of the fight. Now I did get the intercept, so I have the safeguard, so I have another chance here to try to make something happen. Now what I don't like about this AI is it can be very passive sometimes, so it may not give you what you're looking for. So a good idea is to try to get over to the wall so that you can bank him to start a combo up, and then you can bait out a backdraft intercept. The problem is sometimes Thanos waits, or basically sometimes the AI waits just a little bit before coming in, and then you end up putting your light attack just a little bit too early. However, with Angela, she has a very far reach, so you don't really have to worry about those little micro pauses that the AI does to try to throw you off. Check out how good she is at light attack intercepts. So as you can see, where Spidey failed because he didn't have enough reach, Angela takes the cake. Now the other thing about this fight is that you really need a good AI profile, a very aggressive AI profile to make this work. So it kind of relies on a little bit of luck. So you have to have the skill to be able to do these things, but also have enough luck to have the right AI profile to get through the match. If you're trying to go without using items, that is. So here we are at the moment of truth, 1% left, and as you can see, Angela is rocking it no problem. So can we get that last intercept? Yes, we can. So let's recap. The first part of fighting Thanos is pretty straightforward. Your first 5% of damage will take him into the first stone and activates the primeval cocoon, in which you'll need a knockdown to neutralize. This is going to more often than not result in using a special attack. Now use this time to properly stock up on power and to be ready for the eventual fight in the next section. I suggest either just below an SP2 or just below an SP3. Do not use specials in this section, you're going to need them for the next. Okay, so now we're in the primeval cocoon. This is where you get the payoff. While you can build power hitting into his block, you lose momentum trying to do this over and over and just building enough power to use it once and then alternate between building and using. It's quite exhaustive. So having a loaded up power bar going in gives you a great starting point. As you can see, you can usually get in a good 2 sets of combos, which will put you very comfortably in the range of almost 2 power bars each time, and only diminishes by very little. And of course, once that happens, this will result in perhaps having to build up power through hitting into blocks, but it's very seldom. Now, I wouldn't advise using your special attacks at the end of your combos here. You're going to need them to neutralize that cocoon. So this makes this section much smoother by not using them after combos. Now, dexing his SP1 is pretty straightforward and pretty much the same timing as last year's version. Dex at the forward motion of the impact point on the hand, and then for the second dex, you're going to do it right after he impacts the ground, or better known as the ground pound. Now, if you match your dex with the impact, you're going to get hit on the end, so you have to do it just a little bit after. Now, once you've passed the 65% point, you've entered the Ruthless Pandemonium state, and he's going to fill up 2 bars of power in order to launch an SP2, and he'll only use 1 bar of power when activated. Now, this version mimics the reality bubbles from last year's Thanos, so it's pretty much the same thing, where not all of them are real and you have to dex the right ones. Your controls are reversed, and the twist here is that you have to finish your combo with a light attack to turn it off. Now, at the very beginning of this section, you need to swipe backwards to rush in as he's left open, so you can get an easy first few hits and turn off that reverse controls immediately. As I stated previous, depending on what champion you have, you can punish or not. Usually a faster, longer reach champion is recommended. Take a look at how easily Venom can do this, for example. Now, this is huge when you have a champ that can do it, as it's much smoother and a more fluid fight. In the actual SP2, you can see it's just a matter of dexing right before they get to you. And even if you try to dex a little early to punish with someone who can't reach, you're still gonna end up getting comboed in the face, or at the very best case scenario, he's going to dex you and you're gonna have to figure out what to do from there. Now, at 40% health, Thanos becomes stun immune, so your intercept skills need to be on full display here, while under the effects of reverse controls, which makes punishing the SP2 even more important. Backdraft intercepts and using the action point to predict movement are all key here. What also happens a lot in this section is landing a knockdown and using consecutive heavies until he has enough power to launch his special. It's quite useful, and it's a quick way to build up your own power meter. Now, on to the last 30%, or better known as this game. This section sees Thanos with unstoppable on a timer and indestructible, and that indestructible is not on a timer, so you can't overpower him and you can't damage him. You receive an armor break per second and receive more if you're close to Thanos. On a side note, if you have willpower, these armor breaks can provide a bit of healing for you to provide some longevity, so keep that in mind. Okay, so how do you damage a seemingly unstoppable and indestructible opponent? Well, intercepts. When you intercept Thanos, you not only gain a safeguard against the inevitable SP3, no pun intended, but you temporarily turn off the indestructible for 1 second, and you transfer over all the built-up armor breaks over to Thanos for a short time. Now, how is that even enough time to ever do enough damage? Well, you're using multiple hits to build up power meter, as in this section you gain 50% more power. You're shooting for loading up an SP3 that you launch immediately after neutralizing that indestructible. In the meantime, you're still doing damage each time you break the indestructible, so you're chipping away in preparation for the big blow. Now, you can use your knowledge of instinctive touch and watch the action point to get an intercept, and the good news here is, if you're not comfortable with that, the unstoppable timer isn't tied to the power gain, so you can run the clock and still have a chance to get that safeguard. Keep in mind, the more you armor break, the more damage you're going to do with your openings. Now, again, on this section, I do recommend a long reach champion. As you can see, Angela is doing the business as others were failing in the same place. So having someone that has a long reach gives you a lot more leeway when it comes to intercepting, especially with a light attack. So get in there, do your damage, launch your SP3, and win the game, and that is that. Now, with all that being said, I did have a couple problems with this fight. Here are some things you may run into that you may find either challenging or just downright irksome. Backdraft intercepts are very inconsistent in what I found. The AI doesn't know whether or not it wants to dash with a medium or stay stationary. As far as I can tell, this is completely random, but it happens in a place where it's so important and so dire to your situation that you land a safeguard, and sometimes it just doesn't happen because of these errors, or if the AI is overly passive. Now, the other thing I found is Thanos sometimes recovers really fast when you're trying to bait out a backdraft intercept. Sometimes you'll hit into his block, and as you're backing off, even if you're mashing in the light attack, you won't be able to make it because he's already pouncing on you. Now, depending on what AI profile you're fighting, this really ends up coming down to RNG or luck. So you've got to have the skill, and you've also got to be lucky, which I'm not really a big fan of. Now, Thanos loves block damage, and the AI knows just how to get it, like having a little micro pause right before hitting you so that you throw your block up early and take the damage. So you've got to be eagle-eyed and prepared. The other thing is, Thanos really closes in on that intersection space, so he gets real close to you, and having a light attack that pushes so far forward with the speed of a light attack, it makes it difficult to land a parry, much less get the block on time. So the rules of instinctive touch that you've come to know, this AI profile is completely ignoring, so you gotta keep your eyes open on this one. Every so often, Thanos will let go of his block in the middle of the block string while you're trying to build up power, and this usually ends up in you losing health, so you gotta be aware of that as we spoke of earlier. Now this isn't the same timing as block break, this is a little bit faster, so you gotta be aware of that. So while I don't normally promote mashing, I think mashing is a good thing, at least in this particular fight on this particular section. Also, keep an eye out for those block fakes. He'll put his block up, you think you can go in and do your block string, and he lets go. So that's it for some of the challenges you might face against this particular fight, so good luck. Anyway guys, if you haven't already taken down this madman, I hope this helps you complete the task. That's all I've got left to give. Hope you liked the video, and remember, stay dorky. Learn a little something. Take a lesson. Learn it all.